All right. Hello. Welcome to episode 2 of Tea and Type, your time to chill and make words. I'm MK England. I'm a YA librarian and the author of The Disasters, which is a YA space opera coming from HarperCollins Children's in fall 2018.
Hi, I'm Jamie Paxton. I'm a middle grade and YA writer, and I am MK's co-mentor for Pitch Wars. We're current Pitch Wars mentors and 2015 Pitch Wars mentees. And so if you have no idea what that means, click the link in the show notes below.
And so, Tea and Type, if you didn't see our episode last week, this is just a little time to set aside in your writing life to chill out a little bit. Because the writing world can be really full of anxiety, especially on social media. We get stuck in these echo chambers where our own anxiety is being amplified by everybody else's anxiety around us. And so we are going to take a couple of minutes, just 15 minutes, to chill out, just have a casual chat about writing, and afterwards you can see us on Twitter on the hashtag Tea and Type to work on some focus sprints. Just pick a project, make some progress. Don't worry about comparing your goals or anything like that. Just get something done.
Yeah. We should always talk about what we're drinking this week. I'm having chai for caffeine. I slept from 12 until 6 a.m. last night, and he's still awake now. So caffeine. You?
Yes. So I am a total addict when it comes to tea, and I spend way too much money at Adagio Teas. They have this great selection of fandom teas, which are blends of teas that are put together by fans. They put on their own artwork and all of that stuff. So tonight I am drinking Mrs. Hudson. This is Mrs. Hudson from BBC Sherlock specifically, and it is a blend of Assam and almond tea. It's like she baked you scones. It's delicious. I recommend it.
That's amazing. Amazing. All right.
So this week we are talking writing rituals. We were tagged in a AuthorTube tag thing by Kim Chance, and so you can see her channel down in the show notes. Go pay her a visit, and thank you, Kim, for the tag. So we are just going to dive right in because there's a lot of questions and two of us. So Jamie, when do you write? What time of day? What time of the day?
When I can. Before I had children, I was a much more organized writer. I got through a lot of grad school without kids. But now, like I said, my autistic son does not sleep very much. So I always have the great intention to write as soon as my kids are in bed. But the majority of my novels, honestly, have been written, in my mind or on scraps of paper in the car, while they're sleeping. Usually what happens is I do all my pre-writing and planning like that, and then I do a really big push where it's thousands of words a night. So when do I write? When I can. And it is always one of my goals, though, to have – I like habits and routines, and I like consistency, and my life just defies me on that. So it's always my goal, though, to have like a 8:30 tonight I'm going to sit down and write. So what about you?
Yeah, consistency is always the goal. I am a binge writer, unfortunately. I am kind of all over the place from project to project. One project I might write really early in the morning, 5 a.m. Writers Club. Yeah, it's nice when it works, but it often doesn't. Most of the time I write when I write a little bit on my lunch break, and then I write when I get home from work, take a short break for dinner, and then write all the way up until like 30 minutes before bed. So I'll do that for like a month straight until the book is done, and then I'll crash really hard. I would love to learn moderation. So if anybody knows the secret, let me know. Thanks.
I actually, though, wanted to say that, and I was thinking about this question today, because after I finish the book, I am always wanting to go right into the next one, but I find that I can't, like I physically can't, because maybe I've let some stuff slide in life, or I've got my own paid work to do. And so I usually take like a couple of weeks to a month off, and I'm kind of still thinking, but I see that as good recharge time too. So, I mean, I think everybody kind of binges a little bit, with the few rare people we know who absolutely write for half an hour a day, no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, so consistency, that's the goal, right? All right, second question. How do you seclude yourself from the outside world while writing?
I am very fortunate to have a room in my house all to myself so that I can close the door and shut everybody out, dogs included. Just
That would
kidding.
be the
Actually,
room
the
you're in
dogs,
now,
the dogs
right?
are usually, yes, this is the room I'm in now. So I can surround myself with books and make everything quiet, because I must have silence when I write. If I cannot be trusted at home alone to actually get things done, which does happen occasionally, I will drag myself over to the public library that I work at and get strange looks from my coworkers, like, why are you here on your day off? And I'll either go get one of the meeting rooms or just stick myself in a back corner. And I feel slightly more accountable with all of the strangers around me watching me write.
Yeah. I love writing in libraries as well. I do have an office in my house for the first time in a decade, probably.
Yay.
But it is right next to my sleeping son's room. So if he ever goes to sleep, then I do head up there because I love it. It's a beautiful space and it's pretty and clean and I can control it. But libraries or coffee shops are my favorite, and libraries are my very, very favorite when they have a library. I've written a couple of my last books just in a library with music on. I love the big tables. I love everybody reading around me. I even like, there's high school kids, you know, they're like hanging out. Like, there's just a good energy to libraries, you know? All right.
Yeah, libraries are great, guys. Woo. How do you review what you wrote the previous day?
I try not to actually too much, because if I get too far into it, I will spend my time nitpicking. Sometimes I will just go into a writing session and say, you know, here are my scene goals or my word goals. Sometimes I'll skip around and then I won't go back. Occasionally, and I think it was, oh my gosh, brain blank, famous writer who sat down and wrote for a certain amount of time every day and produced, like Victorian writer. He would read over, you know, just one paragraph or something that he had done the day before. I will sometimes do that, but normally I just go, and then I pick it all up in revisions. Yeah.
Yeah, I also don't do a whole lot of reviewing of what I wrote the previous day. My rule is to never end a writing session at a scene or a chapter break whenever possible, so that I always have that like drive to jump right in and finish wherever I left off. I guess the exception to that rule is when I'm already really fired up to write the next scene, I'll go ahead and finish that. So I might reread the last like couple of paragraphs that I wrote just to get back into the groove, back into the voice. But I really try not to get stuck in editing what I wrote the previous day.
I used to. My first few novels, I got stuck in this thing where if I was on chapter 4, I'd read chapters 1, 2, and 3, and then I'd be like, "Whoa, an hour has passed. What happened? Oh, I'm done.
Everything is terrible. I have to rewrite the whole thing."
Yeah, and so then I mean, there were a few books that didn't get done because it literally took me a year to write 17 chapters or something, you know? So, all right. What song is your go-to when you're feeling uninspired? Do you have a go-to song?
I don't actually. I don't typically listen to music when I'm feeling uninspired. I actually have maybe a weirder habit. I have the audiobook of The Dream Thieves by Maggie Stiefvater on my phone, and I will usually just put that on and listen to it for a while, because something about
writing?
language. No, not while I'm writing. Like in between writing. If I'm feeling uninspired, I usually have to stop writing because it's just going to be a slog fest and I'm going to start feeling horrible. I usually need to take a break when I'm feeling uninspired and get myself pumped up a little bit. And so I'll listen to a little bit of that book because it's set in my area, which is Central Virginia. And the language in it just I don't know, something about that book like unlocks my creativity. Yeah. Or
Awesome.
I'll listen to podcasts. Writing podcasts do it for me too.
That's awesome.
What about you?
Me, I really love MIA. And so I listen to her. I write a lot of books to her. I write a lot of books to Fantagram. And so there's a couple Fantagram songs. If I just put them on, they're like get started and go. Typically though, with every book, there is like and I don't do this on purpose. It just sort of evolves from what I'm listening to. There's a playlist that sets sort of the tone for the new book. And so I end up putting that on. But MIA and Fantagram are on all of those every single time. And you know, it's funny. I was in the car today. We were driving back from Madison, and we were listening to the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just realized that like this next book needs to be written to the yeah, which is exciting and amazing and loud. So yeah, occasionally if I'm really far deep into a book, I will start listening to quieter music, hang drum and classical music and things like that. But initially it is usually loud and big, and I put it on really loud and then I just write. So, but I like that interesting idea of like starting a book and listening to the book to get you going. Like, yeah.
I've always wanted to be one of those authors that has a playlist for every book. I am just not like that for some reason. Like I have 2 degrees in music and have all this like classical music training and everything. And music is not a part of my authoring process at all. I don't know. It's weird.
So perhaps you should bring out your clarinet and start playing and then ease yourself into it.
Yeah, I'll just go play some scales and then come back and write. Actually, fun fact, if I go practice my scales, I type a lot faster afterwards. It's very strange. Anyway. Yeah. So question number 5, what do you always do when you find yourself struggling with writer's block? Whether it's listening to music, reading, watching YouTube videos, whatever.
It depends on where I'm at, right? So if I'm just in a writer's block part of my life, then I take a lot of walks. I take a lot of walks anyways, but then I take more walks. And I think about story problems that way. But really, I just kind of let it be. Yeah, you?
It depends on what kind of writer's block I'm dealing with. If it's like a mental health block, I need to just take a break and go refill the well a little bit. If I'm stuck, it's usually that the scene isn't working, so I need to go back to my outline, figure out what about this scene I'm not liking. There's something going wrong with the characters or the tension or something like that. If it's just motivation or not feeling creative, I will get myself pumped up by listening to some of my favorite writing podcasts, which we should just do an episode on that because there's so many great ones.
We shall.
Yeah, I love to read books on the craft of writing. That always gets me really inspired and fired up to write. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, we're running low on time, so how about we go back and forth with these last few questions,
Sure.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So what tools do you use when you're writing?
I mostly use Scrivener. I'll use Google Docs for shorter works, for fanfic, for individual chapters, but I use Scrivener for organizing entire novels. And I also use every single scrap of paper in my entire house. Receipts, envelopes, nothing is sacred.
Yes, amen.
Yes. Next question for you is, what's the one thing you can't live without during a writing session? And I have to answer that one too, because my answer is weird and I must wear shoes whenever I write. I don't know why. It makes me feel like I'm going to work or something. Don't laugh at me. Yes, laugh at me all you want. I know. It's freaking weird.
Dude, I gotta say this, and we're low on time. I have a friend who works from home, and he literally works to his bedroom, and he gets up every morning and puts on a button-up shirt, pants, and a tie to go work, and he's like, because he feels like he's at work.
Dress for the job you want. Yeah.
Right. Okay. And what can I not live without during a writing session? Years ago, it used to be cigarettes. That's no more. So now it's like tea or something, because that oral fixation is still there. So lots of just like tea, or I chew on pens, or I'm a fidgeter too. So yeah, something like that. Fair. While I'm typing, and I can space out and be like, yeah. Let's see. Oh, how do you fuel yourself during your writing session?
Yeah, so definitely tea for me as well. But one of my dear critique partners and I also acquired a habit of eating wasabi peas during writing sessions. Who knows why, but they're great. And last question, Jamie, how do you know when you are done writing for the day?
Oh God, either when I hit my goal. Usually if I hit my goal of 1,000 words or 2,000 words, I'm like, sweet, I could go on. But my eyes are like, no, or I know it's going to be crap. But how do you know when you're done? I mean, it's a process, right? So the books that are done don't feel done. But when I am done writing for the day, I usually just have to stick to a word goal. Otherwise, I would just go on and on and on, and it would. Yeah. What about you? Do you want to answer that one? Or?
I don't have a great answer for that one. I either bang my head against the wall until I'm burned out for the day, or, I do shoot for a word count goal because it makes me feel happy and like I've accomplished something. Like, I want the gold star. I'm okay,
so we should actually offer that as a tip, because like if you do set these writing goals for the day and then you're done with them, I think it was V. Schwab who said, I'm writing a book. No, I'm writing a paragraph or page. No, I'm writing a paragraph. No, I'm writing a sentence. And if you get through those sentences, like that's a big deal. And this is a profession and a hobby without many of those milestones, And so I think setting those goals kind of enforce or imposes those on it. So yeah, I think that's good. All right, to wrap up, you can submit your questions and discussion topic suggestions. Please tell us what you want to hear us talk about at ttype via email at ttypewrite@gmail.com or on Twitter. We're both on there. I'm at Jamie Pacton, and you are something more complicated.
Geektastic Lib. Yeah, I know. It's just look in the show notes.
Yeah, just put or you can use the hashtag AskT and type, and you got to spell out and. It's one thing we recommend this week. Let's see. This week I am watching Poldark while I elliptical, and I am watching Ozark at night, both of which are intriguing, both of which are feeling super whitewashed to me right now. And I do like Ozark. I'm from the South. But given recent events, I think the thing I would recommend most this week is just yet another reading of The Hate U Give. I was talking about that with one of my friends yesterday, and it's a book that sticks with me. It's a book, like I was just telling my husband, I'm going to buy it for my sister, my sister-in-law, like everyone I know gets that book this year in the holidays. So that's kind of my recommendation. Go find a book by a writer of color and then share it with people and also I think it's about time for shows like we need I don't know, again, going back to Poldark, it's such a white version of history, and I would like to know what was going on in other places in the world, and I'd like to see that on TV, and I'd like to watch that while I was exercising. And so anyways, if you got those recommendations, please send those our way too. Anything for you?
Yeah, I originally had lots of recommendations for this week, but I live in Charlottesville, and it's just been a horrible couple of days, and so I am just going to second Jamie. Everybody needs to read The Hate U Give if you haven't yet. And go to my Twitter feed and just scroll down, and I've been recommending and retweeting a lot of books by marginalized authors. Please take some time to read these books and expand your worldview if you have not already. So today we are going to get started on our word sprints here soon. They're not actually word sprints, they're focus sprints. So you just pick whatever it is you want to work on. Meet us over at the hashtag TNType on Twitter, and we're going to do a couple of sprints until 10 p.m. Eastern. So go join us over there. You can follow us at our Twitter handles down in the show notes. And don't forget to subscribe below so you don't miss our next episode, which is going to be next Monday, August 21st at 9 p.m. Eastern. What are you going to work on tonight, Jamie?
I am working on short stories, actually. I'm working on short stories in this big, massive fantasy world that I just finished writing a book in. And so I've got one that I know how it's going to end, and I just need to get these poor little characters from the middle to the end. So
great.
What about you?
And I am just still doing disasters revisions. Woo! All right. Great. Well, we will see you over on Twitter right now. We're going to do our first sprint from 9:20 to 9:40. So go pretty much right now. This has been TNType. Let's go chill and make some words together. Bye.